Climate change is a change in global or regional climate patterns that negatively affect the ecosystem that all living things are a part of. In recent years, climate changes began to take drastic forms and increase at rapid paces, which has promoted individuals to promote changes that slow it. I'm addressing the topic of how the food industry, specifically the meat industry, has influenced the rate and severity of climate change in recent years. I'm interested in this issue because my mother, Phyllis Cutno, was the head of clean energy and climate change at Pew Charitable Trust, meaning at a young age I was learning about the factors and influencers of climate change. In terms of climate change, I know a lot about the influencers and the effects, but not to what extent each influencer has on the state of climate change and the role it plays on a global scale. In order to slow climate change, according to an article in the LA Times titled What's Not for Dinner, the United Nations is urging wealthy nations to change their eating habits by eliminating meat from their diet at least one day of the week. According to this article, meat productions account for nearly one-fifth of the global greenhouse gas emissions. Sheep and goats, when slaughtered, release methane and nitrous oxide, which in comparison is worse than the carbon dioxide put off by your car. Researchers are also trying to find animals that can survive a hotter planet, according to an article written by Evan Halper called Building Chickens with More Pluck. These researchers are attempting to breed and find farm animals with millions of dollars backed by the federal government that can withstand global warming. They're specifically looking at animals in hot climates such as Africa to see how these animals survive in the heat. They estimated that if climate change keeps going, that turkeys will be diseased, chickens will be unappetizing, and entire herds of cattle will be wiped out. According to an article called Food Fight on Climate, written also by Evan Halper of the LA Times, by the UN waging war on the food pyramid, many groups will fight back and try to make it harder for progress to be made. In particular, conservative organizations that fund research will attempt to undermine the UN's effort. Along with this, the Netherlands are believed to be the first one to change their food pyramid and dietary suggestions. If all goes well within the Netherlands, other European countries, followed by the United States, are expected to join. Another article written by Margot Roosevelt titled Do More for Your State says Rajendra Pachauri suggests that California cut greenhouse gas emissions to below 5%, which would be lower than the 1990 levels. By doing this would set a precedent not only for the rest of the country but the rest of the world, considering that California has the fifth largest economy in the world and is one of the top 10 meat-producing states in the United States. Researchers from different universities, such as the University of Delaware and Harvard University, accompanied with researchers from the United Nations, are researching ways to reduce and slow climate change. These individuals who have degrees in environmental science and are dedicated to creating change in order to help reduce the rate of climate change. Assembly Bill 197 regulates greenhouse gas emissions in California and prioritizes direct reductions in specifically. Senate Bill 32 establishes a statewide greenhouse gas emissions reduction goal of 40% below the 1990 levels by 2030. Both of these laws directly target the meat industry in California, seeing that it is one of the largest greenhouse gas emissions producers. By targeting greenhouse gases in particular, it allows a bullseye to be placed on the meat industry's back, forcing them to change in order to slow the rate of climate change.